Good morning, story time. The old engine's not really turned over yet. I was running a little bit late, and so I had to get my coffee and breakfast at the gas station. And I never know what to get there, you know, it's all bad for you. And so I got some pickled eggs, the proper kind, the red ones. You know how some smells just take you back to like your grandmother or to a certain place you've been before? When I eat red beet eggs, I sometimes immediately go back to the first qualification test I took when I got out of college for welding. Because despite my Pennsylvania upbringing, I had never had red beet pickled eggs until I was in my 20s, 21 to be exact, when I took my plate test. When I first walked into Kverner Power, it didn't matter if you had AWS certifications, you had to take their in-house test for welding. So the first thing that they did was put you in a test booth. That meant that you had X amount of hours to perform a perfect X-ray quality weld in the, I think, flat, vertical up and overhead positions. They give you 2 coupons, which are probably 4 by 8 long. I don't remember what the specs are now, and they're beveled along one side and they're put together in a V groove. You have to put them together. You have to do your fit up, you get a backing strip, and you have to root it out with TIG and then do a hot pass with TIG and then fill it out with stick. And they have to be 100% X-ray quality, which isn't too hard for someone who does what we do on the daily, but if you're just like a garage welder, it can be difficult. I agonized over this thing because I was 21 and a new welder. I hadn't quite graduated from my welding program yet. And so I took every moment of that, whatever, 6-hour test that I was allowed to take. I scrutinized my cleaning, a little file in my bag that I brought, the wire wheel that they provided, with like precision. And there was an inner pass temperature, which means, you know, if you're going to fill up a plate with weld this thick, you can't just make a weld and then clean it, make a weld, clean it, make a weld. You're deforming the steel as you pump extra heat into it. So there's always an inner pass temperature. You have to look at the procedure that they give you. If you have to follow this procedure for this test, an inspector will be by to make sure that you are using the right rod, you're in the right position. They'll make sure that you don't have any other type of rod on your person. They'll make sure that the polarity is on your machine are right, that you're not using anything that isn't authorized in that procedure, and he's going to be checking your inner pass temperature. They make temp sticks, and they're like crayons that melt at a specific temperature because you don't want to keep putting heat into that weld. If you accumulate heat into steel, it will make it brittle. Think about any time that you've pulled a piece of something metal out of an old fire pit. It's brittle and it rusts easily is because it got overheated. The same thing happens to welding, so you have what's called an inner pass temperature, and after it goes above, I don't remember the numbers, 500 degrees, you start affecting the microstructure. And so code procedures call out for maximum inner pass temperatures, and the inspector will come by and, you know, swipe a 500 temp stick, and if it melts, you know it has attained that temperature. That's just to say that I had a lot of time to wait between my welds to make sure that I didn't exceed inner pass. So I went down to the canteen. They had one of those great vending machines. They're my favorite. I don't know if they still make them anymore, but they rotate and they have the little sliding door. They have like a little plastic sliding door, I think maybe from the 70s. I wish I had one. And I called it the Wheel of Death because there was never anything good for you in it. Oh, spicy jalapeno dogs. You're in my nightmares. But I was a little bit hungry and I rolled this thing around while I was waiting for my weld to cool, anxious, 21 years old, in a big factory full of men who knew what they were doing. And there were only 2 other welders there, but they weren't plate welders or tube welders, they were sub-arc welders. So I was the only like floor welder female. I didn't entirely know the gravity of that at the time, but like I felt eyes upon me in a way. And I saw these pretty little pink eggs in there. Why not? They were so good, y'all. They're so good. If you like red beet eggs, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't had them, you should. Especially if they come with the beets. Apologies if I've already made somebody gag with this video, but I like them and I wanted to share this little bit of nostalgia while I wait for my brain to turn on. I don't make videos outside. I passed my qual test, by the way. Passed it on the first try and then graduated to a tube welder. To ASME code, which is for boilers and pressure vessels. All right, you have yourself a real good day. And I'm gonna try to get some things done.